Boardroom lights, decisions rise.
What we saw, what we denied.
Data speaks beyond the noise.
Truth emerges in the void.
Voices aligned and silence stays. Moments that define the ways.
Judgment tested, lines are crossed.
The cost of waiting,
The cost of lost. Boardcast,
where leaders see
beyond the obvious reality.
from insight to action fast. This is the power of
Boardcast.
Subramanya C, fondly called as Subbu, is one of the industry leaders who brings the depth and consistency needed to build secure, large-scale digital enterprises. With over 3 decades of global experience, including leadership roles at Cybersecurity and Hinduja Global Solutions, Subbu has led large-scale transformation across cloud, infrastructure, and cybersecurity, enabling secure, always-on global operations. He is one of the few leaders who has worked in this close intersection of scale, security, and transformation. Known for his ability to translate complex technology into real business impact and for driving transformation with a strong foundation of trust and cybersecurity, he brings a rare combination of strategic vision and execution at scale. In a recent documentary that was released on April 7, 2026, we explored the lessons from Equifax data breach, where a single vulnerability exposed millions of records, leading to significant financial loss and lasting impact on trust. It's a powerful reminder that in today's digital world, security is not optional, it is foundational. So let us understand from Subbu, what does it really take to build systems that are resilient, trusted, and truly future-proof? In this conversation, we explore what CXOs and CTOs must do to avoid such failures and how to build trust-based systems at scale.
Welcome Subramanya sir, or favoritely known as Subbu. Welcome to Boardcast. It's an honor to have you with us today.
My pleasure.
We are really looking forward to your insights on building secure, future-ready enterprises based on your deep expertise on various technologies, including cybersecurity, AI in practical senses, not
Absolutely.
in theory.
Yeah.
And the deep expertise in IT strategy itself. So welcome and looking forward to a deep, insightful conversation.
Absolutely. Pleased to be here with you all. I'm sure it will be a great interaction with us specifically for your broadcast, what you're planning to do. I would definitely try to come out with all my expertise and experience, what I've really had from past 37 years, and try to share what is that which I've really learned and what the people can really use it for.
Pleasure is all ours. Subbu sir, you have been with Cybersecurity Health and handled large volumes of data, which included very sensitive data, which had US patient, insurance data, and operating under some very stringent regimes that were imposed globally. Right? In that context, cyber and data risk is not hypothetical, it is existential. At the same time in US, in the similar time frame, in the US healthcare ecosystem, already large scale data was actually getting breached, not because risks were unknown, because vulnerabilities did not get that kind of attention that needed and not acted upon and not taken seriously. Operating under that kind of environment where technically things were possible, commercially attractive, operationally it was efficient, you chose not to do things like that and ensured data risk was eliminated and nothing went wrong. What made that line clear to you as President and Global CTO of Sagility, especially when other organizations were not doing similar things, but you took a stance very different from other organizations?
Very, very valid point. First point I would love to mention down here is I was a president, so it's an ex-Sagility. So this is completely my views and what I have implemented in my tenure. This doesn't have any link to any of the organization's policies which are implemented upon. So I would like to talk more about the healthcare industry, how we have really done, and we being one of the largest service providers for the healthcare, specifically looking at the US payers and provider industry. I'll speak about it, it'll be a lot more value for you people. Yeah. So it is absolutely like all the points what you really said, it is so important that everybody in the organization needs to own security and definitely imbibe security as a practice by themselves. It can't be only a CEO or a CISO or a CTO really trying to pick it up, right? It is so important that we really cascade this information to everybody. You may have the best of the technology controls, but the weakest link is what will be a problem. So the people could be a problem. That's where if you really look at, even now people really speak about in every interaction, people is one of the most weakest links as such. And that continues to happen, whether it could be in healthcare, non-healthcare, or an IT, or anything which people do. That is where the reason of a lot of AI, which we will speak about in our further discussions, how we can really do humanized AI and whatnots, right? So first things, we need to have controls in place. That's basic hygiene, right? If you have to have controls in place, you need to have the right technology, and more so with the third-party outsourcing contact centers or back office processing centers, you need to adhere to the technology, what is being informed to us or confirming to the standards of what my clients would want. We would not be at the mercy of, we would not be at the wills and fancies of buying whatever tools and technologies we would want, right? So it would be like, you know what, for a third-party BPO, companies in a company. It's not a single company trying to really implement across all the 40,000 plus people and trying to build a technology or deploy a technology and control the technology, right? So it's almost like a segments which we need to really build. It's like an ODC is what you can really take it as, right? So you need to have controls in such a way for each of the clients totally different, right? And this controls are at various levels, right? We can take examples of various levels of controls, what we have really done, right? It could be right from a perimeter security, which used to earlier exist. Now the perimeter is gone, right? Wherever you go, that's where you are really trying to do the work, especially after the COVID really happened, right? So people started working from everywhere. Earlier people, in fact, healthcare organizations with all the restrictions, as what you rightly said, did not allow us to really take the work home. Right? It had to be done only at the office, only within the boundaries of the four walls, and you need to really work even within that dedicated centers. So that got expanded while people really started from working anywhere else, right? Working from anywhere. So we had to literally have technologies and collaborate with the IT teams, with the client organization, information security teams in the organization to really understand and implement within a very short time frame to ensure that we are able to really have the same security irrespective of where he operates, right? So we were able to really build all this. For all this to happen, first thing is the person who's really trying to lead this business needs to have a passion. It can't be really taken it as yet another job he's trying to really do as an information security, because it can't be that I have done my job and I have passed it on to somebody. It doesn't work. Like I said, people are the most thing in the value chain. Right from the top, who is the CEO or the C-level authorities, to the agent who's sitting and trying to operate, you need to really teach. Understand, I'll go from the lowest of the value chain to the top, right? The top can always say, but the lowest of the value chain you need to look at. So if you look at an agent who's trying to operate on a system, we literally used to be in an extent of trying to say, no, paperless office, right? His desk used to be without paper, right? When it goes home, imagine you need to really take these controls back, implement there also. How do you really do? You can't really do a control at home. So you need to ensure that there are enough of security controls right from while he is working on a PC. There are instances where we have even done a surprise audit to the agent by making him to really switching on his camera and trying to ask. Again, this is possible in countries like India. Over a period of time, that is also becoming challenging because you're almost trying to get into a privacy zone of the person, of the employee who's trying to work, whereas this was not possible at all in the US and other regions. So back to the point, if you really look at, we had to control the agent to work only on his environment. Technology control-wise, all were possible because the agent who used to sit and operate used to get connected to the machines which are sitting out. The servers used to be sitting out of the US. One clear principle and policy which all our clients and we also adopted and strictly adhere to is no data can be replicated outside the US geography. I mean, nothing physically can be really moved out, or you cannot even do a copy paste of any screens. It has to be so vigilant by everybody, not by only the agent, not by the CISO, including the team leads. It's like, say, you have to literally say what you're really seeing around somewhere, right? That's very, very important. You need to really get this information up the value chain. If somebody sees something which is not really standard practice, it needs to be brought to the notice. Including this needs to be educated to the people at the value chain, and more so while we were doing it remote. We had to literally take all these tasks on a war footing basis while we were trying to give the desktop or a laptop to the home and trying to make them connected to our offices while we have the security end to end. Because as we rightly say, security is not that you have done it and then forgotten. It is a journey, right? Every day there is so much of changes and vulnerabilities which are really coming in. It's so important. Today, coming back from fast forward to now, the world has moved towards smishing and phishing and wishing and so many things, right? And all of us are really trying to be cyber literate. That's what we need to be. So in a corporate world, you need to be far more literate because you're trying to touch the data which is not your own data, it's the data which is of your client's client, right? Your customer's client, which is so important that you need to be, because we are answerable, organization is answerable, and our clients are also answerable when an end customer calls. So I think it was so important that we educate, make the people understand what they need to do, and also have the right controls so that they don't really get anything beyond. We were to the extent of, if an agent logs out of the computer, nothing is remaining in the machine. To that extent, we used to really be cleared off. So the systems used to be built in such a way. It's not a manual process. You can't really do it with this spread, right? And with the diversity of machines being spread everywhere. So we had a lot of systemic controls which took control of all these caching, including being cleared. Second, you don't really connect to the systems down here. You have your Citrix and VMwares and all these which are sitting out. Every client, largely we used to give only thin clients to the agent so that he has no other way to really use anything beyond. Including the thin clients, he'll not be able to connect anything else because we will ensure that nothing is really available. So that's the way we had systemically controlled, educating the people, because like I said, people, process and technology, we all speak. Why does P comes first? The people, if you really look at, right? So we have to make this people be aware, and we need to ensure the governance is built in. At the right point of time, you need to really give encouragement to people to come back and tell us, right? Like we always say, you don't go and share a password, so you can't really share anything. So we always used to say, you see something, say it. Because you have to say that, otherwise, you can't really have controls, which is so much diversified. And good, we can always say everything controls can be there, almost vigilance of everything being really done. We need to really have information being cascaded to us and to our clients at right point of time, stating everything is in control, data is not being on, and also ensure right amount of third-party audits are done at all point of time so that he is feeling that he is safe. So I'll just give a pause to the points of, I think, what I have answered to you.
No, thank you. I think you touched upon various things, people being first, but you also talked about other things, right, in your response to the question, about policies, frameworks, governance. But in reality, when all of these things are still put in place, or all of these things are in place, I'm sure in your leadership journey you would have faced challenges despite all these things. Absolutely. Right? Yeah. So when you look back, what surprised you most when it comes to cyber risk? actually when in organizations everything that is possible in terms of controls, frameworks, policies have been put in place. And what did that reality expose to you while theory was, intact?
So again, very valid point what you brought out. So if you look at, I think cybersecurity cannot be a checkbox. I think it can't be any more a theoretical way of trying to do a cybersecurity. Like I was trying to say earlier, I am more being told in the industry as a pragmatic guy. I don't really go back and say that this is my rule book and this is how I'm going to really follow, right? Decisions need to be taken on the fly to really make things happen, right? You will definitely face situations, right? You need to know how to really respond back to them. You can't really react. Majority of the time what happens when an incident occurs, or if there is a smell of an incident really happening, or if there is a vulnerability which is possible, which is being seen proactively, because see, good amount of investments need to be done. It should not be a person, or it should not be one team trying to look at it. There has to be multiple teams. Even with all this, there could be incidents, and there are incidents which could have happened, right? But how quickly you are able to really contain that incident to really happen only within that segment, that laptop or desktop, and not taking it beyond, is what is very, very important for us, right? I can always narrate incidents, of course not in my earlier company, which I've heard about while I was speaking to the people. The IT team trying to really give access to a third party to do some amount of work into the systems where they need to do activities on our machines or our set of servers, or when they are trying to really port the data, repatriate the data from on-prem to a cloud, right? Those are the instances where could be some ports are open, right? So what people need to do is during those time, which we have discussed a lot and debated in most of our panels, is we need to be a lot more alert while we are trying to do such activities, right? And we always think that IT people have, almost all of these guys have to work only on the weekend to make all this happen. Yeah. So give them their space to make it happen during the time, and give them the other time off, because they're also human beings. You need to literally give them time to do. You can't really expect them to be always perfect. So there has to be a maker-checker mechanism, which is the old concept and principles which we speak. If we don't have that, there could be a challenge. We have seen this happening in instances where we have heard from people. We have told very clearly, but we were able to get all these alerts ahead of time. So I know I don't want to really publicize any specific product down here. There are enough of products in the market today which are able to give us huge amount of alerts proactively to tell us that this could be a potential threat, or this could be a thing, this could be a behavior of this person which used to happen, or this is what was not being done, or this is an access being done from somewhere which is not a potential IP. So various things are available. So first thing is, as I said, if the CISO or a CTO doesn't have a passion for it, he will only take it as a tool which he likes it, or he is being told to take it and then implement it. He needs to research himself. Like I always say, and I always believed, convince yourself to convince others. So I used to get myself to the depth. Again, as you go up the value chain, you may not be able to get to. So again, the concept I always used to do is trust but verify. Trust but verify, which is also very important. You need to have the right set of team members who are trying to evaluate it without having a vested interest on any of the product, trying to see the organization as, or a customer as, a core perspective, and trying to identify a tool, take an ownership of deploying this tool, and act upon instances or incidents when something happens in that situation. So I think this commitment needs to be done. And again, this comes, as I said, commitment starts from the top. If you have the commitment, people will really give you. If you say that, don't disturb me after this particular point of time, then people will say, sir, you told me I didn't do. You have to be available. I think this industry, you need to. That's where people, I'm sure you would have heard about in various instances, IT industry, people want to really get out of the whole work. Earlier retirement stages, what you have spoken or you have seen. The reason is this, because they need to be totally available and they can't really compromise upon. So I think these are things which I've really seen in my instances.
No, thank you. You mentioned about IT department and you talked about it can't be siloed to department at the beginning of the, when we started talking. But in most organizations, to your point, cybersecurity and risk is considered as a mandate for IT teams. Right? It is somehow not my function, it's IT function. But if you look at it, it is actually governance. It's actually leadership and governance level mandate or a requirement, because that's one thing that can break or make the organization. So how do you see that decision being made in the organization, and how did you influence the governance in the organization?
Awesome point. Again, good for me, because I think I can always say what I have really seen in my own instance of 25 years working with a large group, right? If you really look at, from day one, I have been the IT and IS.
Oh, interesting.
Which is very, very interesting. And you know what? I have seen few years ago, even the Gartners really speak about, it's good that IT and IS organization work together. See, it can't work together or working for somebody and working together. There is a huge difference, right? If you look at here, I can't really being an IT head. I can also be an information security officer. The point is I need to do some delegation of authorities to the people, and I need to have the spokesperson to really handle an audit, and I need to wear multiple hats and try to remove the hat of IT or an IS based on the situation which you need to do.
Correct.
Of late, it is difficult for organizations to really club this. The reason is because companies are really saying that, a lot of companies are really saying that you can't,
division of labor.
It needs to be having, you can't, it's a conflict of interest, you need to have it, right? But in my opinion, from whatever I have seen, again, good that I have not seen an incident which has happened into my organization, at least it's not been publicized as such clearly, into all my organizations where I worked upon till December 2024. It was so perfect for me that I was able to really wear both the hats and run. So I used to look at two critical way of really doing. If I am doing an information security meeting, I will be clearly sitting on only information security, and I will be asking the IT team the questions where they need to answer. So when I was a CTO, if an external auditor really comes out and asks to me, I need to answer, no doubt about it. So there could be lapses in some policies which have been not deployed upon. So I need to own it up at that time and see that how do I really course correct it, right? It cannot be repetitive incidents. So I think the fortunate thing for me is I am handling both the hats, and both the departments has to work very, very closely. And now over and above all this, things have come in like enterprise risk management now. Every enterprise has a risk management, and most of the time it could be a legal person who's leading it. Legal may not understand IT. I feel as most of the organizations, the approach which they need to take, and in my current capacity where I'm doing an advisory role into multiple companies, I'm trying to tell them have a task force, which would make it far more easier to really happen. It could be a ERM person. It has to be an ERM person. It has to be an IT person. It has to be an information security person. It's like the world was talking about crowdsourcing, right? I think if you really look at more the merrier here in this particular instance, if you look at ERM will look at from the enterprise risk management angle, IT will look at from what controls which I need to really put in. IS will be like a watchdog looking at both what's happening types, right? I think that way, if you really work as a task force cohesively, lot of things can get implemented. And I've started deploying this for some smaller organizations where I've seen it may not be to the level of an ERM, it may not be an enterprise, it could be an SME, which is of a few hundred crores, which is leading towards 1,000 crore company type. I'm trying to put an IT manager and trying to see that information security team is also working closely with them so that things get implemented faster. Otherwise, what could happen is here the passing of the buck will go. Information security will come back and only say you didn't do the job, right? IT will say business did not allow me to do it because they are not giving me downtime. So it will go nowhere. There has to be a chair which needs to be led and tried to take. So we have seen a lot of these being asked in board. When I was there, my chairman used to ask me, hey Subbu, I think I can sleep peacefully. That's all. One line which used to be asked used to be the best of the things which you need to. It's a very, very strong question and very, very heavy question if you really look at. So I said, if I can sleep peacefully, you're also sleeping peacefully. That's the way we used to leave it.
But I think you said I was lucky. but there is also saying luck only comes when you're prepared.
Yeah.
And I think you just gave us the recipe of that luck by saying, bring ERM, IT and IS together.
Yes.
There is the recipe. Thanks for sharing that, Subbu. I was just thinking, the biggest, based on your leadership experience so far, what is that biggest misconception senior leaders in the organization or even boards have, especially about cybersecurity and the risk?
Boards had and boards have. I'll give you both the answer. Because it is so important, right? Because the trends have changed, right? If you really look at today, almost every board will have somebody who understands cyber, right? Earlier, that was not the real case. If you really look at that, used to be the last 10 minutes or 15 minutes used to be given for the ITIS team to really say that, okay, you come and present. Today, it has become so much important for an organization. It's like you earlier spoke, it makes the organization or break the organization, right? All these are so critical parts in the organization, it makes it, right? So you need to really control that, for which you need to have right amount of governance. So I have always believed I have also sat in a few board seats, right, in my earlier organizations. So the way I used to do is, I never used to, again, your own subject matter, the more interest on you to really learn about it, right? Like I said earlier, cyber literate, which is very, very important for all of us to become a cyber literate citizen. First thing for ourselves to be, because right from that control needs to be there, and bring that to the enterprise or wherever place you would do. So it is so important that everybody sitting, at least a nominated person who is in the board, to really understand more than what the other people will do, and trying to get an audience with the other board members and he or she trying to represent and say, these are the things what we have really verified. These are the risks. There are, again, not to promote a tool, there are cyber risk quantification mechanisms available in the market today. These are the ones which will aggregate all the risk, whether it is inside out or outside in. Because there are organizations, even before they give the business to you, they will do an assessment on you, right? They do it an outside in. Once they give the business, they will also expect you to give an inside out report to them. And there are tools and technologies, and there are third-party organizations who are not influenced by any of these tools, who are authorized to really do a deep dive audit, and looking at each of the measures, and the data which they really get has to be in such a way that right from a simple user ID creation, user ID access tool which is there, and the time taken to delete, and the web access given to the people, right? Right from looking at that level, going up to the level of literally on the physical security, whether the important papers which were lying in the board meeting, has it been removed or not, or the board minutes being recorded, where is it being stored, is it complying to all the requirements where the statutory compliances are all being met. I think it's a huge task. Nobody can really just wipe that away. So cybersecurity is so important in today's mandate by every board. All of us, in fact, a lot of people are trying to say that they're all getting board certifications and trying to take this, right? The more people who are practically implemented or worked upon are the people who will be able to be stronger there also, because they will ask the right questions. And I believe in asking, major point is an open-ended question than a closed-ended question. If you ask that, did you have an incident? No. The same thing can be asked in different way. Can you ask this particular city, this particular area, how many? If you have a visibility, then you will be able to have a control, right? I think those are these things which we have really seen over a period of time, which has really come in. There are stray instances where laptops or desktops have not been plugged into the network at all. So there used to be times where they could not have updated patch. Today, the technologies have come in such a way that you just get connected to internet, your patch is updated. You can't ignore at all. So I think the tools are really coming in, right? The processes are really coming in. The people need to really ensure that all these are really monitored at right point of time. That's where this governance speaks big about in every organization. It is important that needs to be sufficient time given by the board for cyber risk quantification or cyber subject being discussed.
So you said, I think one key thing is for the governance and board is to ask the right question, because I think AI can answer everything else.
Oh yeah.
Subbu sir, you talked about tools, frameworks, audits, all of these exist, right? And when we look at large, very sophisticated, huge organization with sufficient controls, where audits happen, tools are there, technology is there, security teams are there, certifications like ISO is done, but still they suffer from major cybersecurity risks and attacks. From your vantage point, do these failures continue to happen despite preparedness based on your experience? And what usually breaks first? Is it technology? Is it people oversight? Is it decision making being slow or not having enough focus? It might be any of these or none of those.
So I think it's tough to really prioritize the points what you really mentioned. I think it is, from whatever my experience I have seen, certainly it has been either a people oversight, certainly it has been in most of the instances. See, but you know what will happen? The people may not really come out and say, this is where the problem is. They need to sometimes upfront accept and say that yes, it's a mistake, because mistake can happen because the people are trying to do, right? There are processes which you need to really adhere to. Somewhere what would happen, because of the rush of delivering something, that process would have got skipped, or the process would have literally been not followed at all. So some of these which has not been done could cause to a failure, which will try to really camouflaged by people trying to say, no, it's a tech failure, this didn't happen, that didn't happen. That's the way it is. So I think it is so important that we need to understand. That's where if you look at even in an ITIL process, a change management, when it is really being done, all of us have really seen, right? It could be an hardware application or a hardware system or a application change management. You need to look at so much to really things be prepared. There are systems and processes available. People may try to really escape because it could be highly important. There could be commitment given to anywhere. I don't want to really name a private equity or a board or somebody they would have given, and they want to really honor that. They could in emergency try to skip this process and make the people to really do this. We should not, as leaders, we need to really start owning it up and try to really be a part of those things and see whether is there a potential or is there a probability that any of these could happen, right? Speed is essential, but speed with control is what is important, right? We have all seen, even while we are driving in the roads, we have seen a lot of bumps, right? Which is so important that is really existing. You need to really control at points. That means that is really essential, and the organization across value chain needs to really understand this and appreciate this. Otherwise, what could happen? Somebody will try to really do something and try to really find where I can really pass the buck. So it's an overall organization needs to own it up and try to say, right? That's where we always say a leader is one who really takes up and says that fine, yeah, the credit is to you, the debit is to me. You start doing what it is, right? If it's a failure, I'll stand for you. It's so important you need to do that and stand for it. It's not that you really said it, right? Only then people will work for people. These are all standard concepts which we have really seen. We may see these as English words, but while we try to practically implement it, you will really face it. I think you need to sometimes be confronting people also. That's where I have always been, and I have also been taught by my seniors and my mentors saying that you can be good between 9:30 to 6:30, clearly office. After 6:30, typically the office time, be friends, not a problem. The more you fight inside, the more you win outside. This is how we have really seen. And again, goes back to the organization, goes back to the information security, goes back to the team you really build, trying to give them authority and responsibility. You can't say that I own the authority and you have the responsibility. It will not work. If somebody is trying to do a patching, if there is a problem and if he really escalates, it needs to be acted upon by having with the business guy and trying to say, either this will work or this will not work. I will not be able to give you this. It may be a harsh discussion, but it needs to be done. If you don't do this, something will happen and then you will really have to face this. I feel it is purely because of people and process, right? And implementation of tech not being done right. Either it could be of a knowledge gap or it could not be the best or the next practices being taken from the industry and trying to course correct while you're trying to implement. Like I said, it's a journey, right? You can't say that gone are the days that where I've configured a firewall or configured a system and left it, right? You need to keep watching and trying to see what are the incidents, who's happening, what's happening. That's where your SOC has come and AI on SOC has come, and so many things have really come in. Being abreast with the technology and learning the implementation of these technology into an organization, into your own environment, because what is being implemented in a manufacturing is different from what is being implemented for an IT or an ITES, right? So you need to know the right domain implementation skills also, leverage those and try to do. I think this is very, very important for all of us.
Absolutely. So you talked about silos being broken, you talked about processes, you talked about people, you talked about tools, and audits happening, right? Most post audits or most post review incidents usually reveal there were known vulnerabilities, but it was not acted upon on time, right? At least most reviews show that. From your experience, why does this happen? You talked about process gap, but you also talked about nowadays technology enables patches to be put even remotely, right? Gone are those days, but still vulnerabilities are not acted upon. What is that key factor that is?
So good point. Let's take it as an example. If I go to a sales guy or a marketing guy and try to tell him that I'm not trying to really show a department, because at least we are not talking. So if you really look at, they are the ones who are really exposed and going and sitting into every location and every place and trying to work, right? There are possibilities that they would carry something back and come. And they are the ones who will not be able to really give you some amount of time for you to really work on their mission. They'll say you can't really do something, right? So some of those are very, very critical for us. You're right. Patches has to be done. Patches is loaded. But there could be a miss in terms of a particular system. See, how do these hackers, whether it is an outsider or insider, really come in? Gone are the days again. People used to come and immediately try to attack and make your system a blue screen. Gone. That's also done, because they also become smart now. They will be inside your organization, right? Threat hunters will be, and they will be sitting inside the organization, sitting in a laptop, sitting in a desktop, silently watching out what things are happening, where is it happening, when is the time which he will be able to get admin access, where he'll be able to take control of everything, right? That's very important, which he'll keep wait for. So you need to really keep having your own ways to control and try to look at, okay, in my systems or in my span of control, these are systems which are to be watched regularly. I think these are some decisions, again using the right tools, you will be able to get to know. It's like in an organization, who are the problem creators? Not to blame a department or a person, you need to really identify things. And that's where if you really look at, a lot of people started saying that if somebody is trying to log in from home on a VPN, or is coming in from a geography where a lot of companies have even restricted accessing from geographies which are prohibited. You have seen that, right? So like this, you need to keep watching. It's not one solution which fits all. It needs to know the behavior, because that's where if you really look at, you need to know the context, you need to know the intent, you need to have the right tools. And if you marry all this, then you will get a pattern, which is what you need to really control upon. Again, this is easier said than done, right? But this requires huge amount of activity needs to be done. That is where if you really see, because all this are being practiced and data is available, slowly AI is trying to do most of this, right? If you see AI with humanoid is what is the future to be there, right? Without a human being in the loop, it is difficult to really get on, right? I'm not saying it's not possible. It is over a period of time. But today, if you really look at AI with human collaborated, is what we have really seen it happening. Because the knowledge base which have been built over a period of time is what can be leveraged upon. It used to be leveraged by the people in the value chain, L1, L2, what we used to speak. How they used to grow up the ladder, because they have done a lot more things and they've got experience in seeing things. So now, with the context and with the intent, people will also be able to give that information to a bot or a AI, or whatever you want to call, and then it takes over. That's my opinion.
Thank you, very well said. That's where experience matters, right? You also talked about speed. You mentioned we are always looking at speed, right? But good governance, when put in place, often slows down things, right? It actually complicates speed. But we're all in the situation or in the pace where we want to be the first one to time to market, the first ones to release as early as possible in the most agile way. In situations where you have stronger oversight, obviously sometimes decision gets slower, right? It has to be thought through. I am sure you have faced this because it's everyone's challenge.
Yes.
What are some of the trade-offs you had to do, especially when you had huge pressure for speed?
So if you look at, I think this is a different challenge in different industries. A product company who's trying to develop a product and release will have a different challenge. Whereas a services company trying to release service using a product, it's a different challenge, right? I will speak about more from a services industry because that's what we have really done if you really look at. So we may have to really go back to the business and try to have, first I believe always in set expectation. And you need to have, as a CISO and a CTO or a guy who's trying to deliver the business, you need to have something up your sleeves, right? You need to have some amount of buffers, or the buffer could be, I use the word resource. Resource could be men, material, technology, anything it could be, right? Right? And it could be budget also.
And women.
Exactly. Absolutely right. See, the catch is that's where the diversity also plays a lot. So if you really look at, these are very important to really have. When you are in trouble, who will you be able to call? Who will be able to really assist you? Who can quickly support you to make things happen? I think these are to be now called as mind map, needs to be available, right? Should it be in paper? Should it be in your mind? It's a decision. It's good if it can be in paper, it can be documented. There are instances where you can't really go by rule book and all, right? Sometimes you need to really skip the steps and do. That's where sometimes may happen. That's where experience comes in, plays a valuable role and tries to say, I think it's good that this is how you need to do. And I know this has worked in multiple instances, and I know this is the primary way and this is the secondary way. If this happens, this is available, right? I think the resilience which we need to really bring in everything what we really do, and collaborating with the right ecosystem will still be able to achieve what you want to define on a speed as, right? If I want to say that I'm going to release a product on February 26th, right? I need to be clear that I have tested with a beta version well before that, and what could be the challenges we would have really had. If I have to give a site delivery to a client on 26th for the business to go live, I should have tested with all the applications, with the people sitting in, everything being done at least 2 or 3 days ahead of time. Even with all this, trust me, we would have achieved only on 26th. But I have achieved the date. At least the reason is because you have set expectations yourself and you have been. And again, this is also important that you have a complete span of control. So in today's scenarios, what's happening is in some of the organizations is people don't have full control and authority there. So they will try to say, I had told him and this did not come, hence I was not able to do. Sorry,
everybody passes the
that doesn't work. See, if you are taking an ownership of it, and that's where people are, earlier, a few years ago, there was nothing a word called chief of staff, right? Like this, these are new things which are really coming up, right? Why are these things really coming up is to really ensure that there is sufficient governance available at right point of time. And there is enough of program management offices available to see that we don't really miss on. I feel collaboration, setting expectations, planning ahead of time, having buffers, having backup, having right resources could really ensure that, minimize the delay or minimize the failures. These are some of the things which I think.
Thank you. Again, lot of key parameters that you've talked about, very insightful. Somebody when I spoke to recently said, you have to do right things when the flag is high, flying high, right? Most of the times when things are stable, when they appear stable and successful, we often become overconfident and lose curiosity. What is that one question from your experience that senior leadership, CXOs or board members have to constantly ask that demand uncomfortable change when everything is going well.
Absolutely. And also, at the same time, approve the right amount of money, being in the board
Yes.
to really get things going. Because
Yes.
it is so important that you can always
That's
ask
why
a
Abba is
question.
famous. She keeps saying money, money, money.
Money. So it's so important that you need to really do this, right? You're absolutely right. The board, like I earlier said, some things they may not want to inside a boardroom or inside the CEO and below. If you really look at, I can tell you in one of my organizations, my chairman had told very clearly. He asked me, "Do you have any challenges in getting your approvals for your security budget from your CEO? If so, please reach out to me." Imagine the amount of commitment or the words which is asked in this sentence, if you really look at by a chairman, is so beautiful. I didn't have a challenge, but this was a word he told, right? So that means the security is really driven from then. It's an uncomfortable question, truly, because it may be that the CEO has to run his numbers. The same chairman will ask the CEO that you need to really put quarter on quarter your EBITDA numbers to go up, right? Or your net profit, net margins to really go up. But you need to still do upon all these investments, right? So if you really look at such questions in a boardroom are asked, you need to be also cautious to really say. At the same time, you cannot really compromise on trying to say, because you have to be pleasing. Here, you need to be clear. You're not trying to please anybody, you're doing your profession. And that's very, very important for us, right? Especially when you're wearing a hat of information security, you're controlling the organization's data or your customers' data, which is across. You need to really be clear about how do you really build controls upon. I think the boards are understood very well. Like I said, had and have now. If you really look at, they are right peoples. And like I have told, I have myself been on the board and trying to really get onto. And there are right companies to really give you right visibility. And there are exercises which we do for the management. We continue to have that as a exercise, what we call management tabletop exercise. So, you have the playbooks, when an incident happened for a technology engineer, there is a management tabletop exercise. So, we had conducted this right up to the chairman. He also attended and said that, good, what I need to do, what I need not do. It's not, again, the CISO can do. Should the CISO do, or CISO do it in collaborations with somebody from outside? It's better, because the internal person who is in the organization may not be able to say what he wants to say to his bosses. Best is to use the third party to really say what he wants to really get it and get that told also. It's so important that you need to do. The reason is because here, if you really look at, you're keeping organization or a customer as a center there, right? So while you're doing that, it is very essential that you go back and try to tell the board, these are the things which I'm doing. Define a cyber roadmap. Like we always used to do a technology roadmap, right? We have decided and showcased to our board and to our clients that this is my cyber roadmap. So cyber roadmap for my organization, cyber roadmap for my customers based on his collaboration. Because some of the customers will have his own roadmap and you need to align to his vision and his IT roadmap, right? So we used to work IT and IS roadmap, which we used to work together. So I think these are very essential, and the board will ask and should ask that, give me your information security roadmap. Tell me the number of vulnerabilities. Tell me the number of issues which you had on. So there are some things which we also used to tell in the management table. And if an incident happens, how prepared are you? Who is going to speak to the press? Who is going to speak to customer? Where is your template? See, all these have been made ready now, right? With a lot of these GPTs coming in and everything, really, you'll be able to pull it out because the knowledge base is available now. While we were on trying to do a lot of these things, we were preparing this data to really go upon. I think it's important to leverage, as I said earlier, the ecosystem, use all the tools available and make everybody educated enough to see that we don't really get into challenges. That's how it is. If we get challenges, how do we really handle it? That's how it is.
Thank you. Now, in today's world, there is no conversation that stops without AI being talked about. And there used to be a time where, and in our own evolution of the work, we have seen business first and technology was an enabler And then everybody started saying, hey, technology is redefining how business needs to be done, because technology is the game changer. Now, technology is changing so fast with AI adoption that governance, regulation, and leadership judgment takes a backseat at times. You are advising a lot of organization on AI adoption and working with a lot of organizations
Who
which
are
are
releasing AI.
who are building AI
engines.
itself. When you look at these enterprises which are deploying AI today, what worries you more? Is it the capabilities that they're adopting? Is it the governance maturity that they're assuming? Or is it something else totally different?
Very
and
valid,
I
I
just
think.
have a follow-up
Sure.
question also to that. And often at leadership level or at the board level, what do leaders overestimate about AI? And if 5 years back down the lane, if we look at it, would boards worry about what we did not adopt rightly about AI?
Good point. I'll take the second one first. 5 years is a too long time frame. Let's be very upfront about it. In today's generation, I remember organizations used to give 3-year roadmap and whatnot. It's gone. People are really thinking of a year on year, how do we really do upon, right?
I'm still stuck with the planning commission.
Exactly. So if you really look at, that's how it is. So it is so important that you need to really adopt AI, no doubt about it. You cannot be worried that will AI take over my business. If you don't embrace AI, it will be a challenge. That's very sure about it, right? At the same time, we need to really be cautious about where I adopt AI, where do I start the adoption of AI, and how do I really build? Like I said, a cybersecurity roadmap. I'm very sure organizations will start drawing an AI roadmap. I'm very sure that they will start doing it, and I will start doing it from tomorrow. That's how I'll start doing it, because you asked me this point. It's so important that you need to really build it, right? The low-hanging fruits are the ones companies have already started adopting. Everybody. Today, if you look at in our telephones, the phone rings, you don't see a people talking to you, right? It's an avatar who's speaking to you first. And if you really pick up the call, only then the call get transferred to an agent, and if you are interested, only then. Why really this got adopted and why was this faster? Because this was literally the low-hanging fruit where people used to spend a lot of money just trying to really connect. If you look at the technologies, what was there, the dialer used to dial, and if people speak, then they used to connect. Now, if the people really are interested, they are trying to really get the call connected to an agent. That's the way they are really doing, right? And there are conversations without an agent speaking, and agentic AI really taking over and doing the job also, right? We have seen this, right? And a lot of simple queries which you want to really have can always be answered upon on the AI. And these are easy adoptions in the organization, right? I know organizations who have gone typically in every function, identifying small steps which they need to do, and then you adopt AI. So if you really look at, that's where in my roadmap I always draw is AI which is more focused. Today, AI broadly doesn't make really sense, right? I want to have an AI for HR, AI for finance. If you really look at each of the requirements are totally different.
Correct.
To the point of what you rightly said earlier, there is people, business and technology have collaborated so much to really embrace AI now, right? Earlier it used to be technology first, business first, technology first. Now both of them have started embracing together to, collaborating together to embrace AI. Now it's becoming AI first, because each departments are trying to compete and say, I have built in this much, I want to really do this, and how much I can really do. Because it's a pressure everybody is really facing to see if multiple things. One, competition is doing. Two, if you own yourself and try to see, these are things which I don't think I need to really use a manpower to do this. Instead, I can use the manpower to do far more better job by reskilling him and upskilling him to really do different things, right? I think that as an organization concept really started few years ago, and now it's really maturing to a large extent, and organizations have started really embracing AI, right? I think this is the way to go, no doubt about it. I'll give you a simple example. If you really look at AI for cyber, cyber for AI, you spoke about, right, there could be hallucinations also which really come in, right? You need to have ways and means and technologies to do. But for all this, why, if you really look at all this is possible today because you have so much of data which is available with you, right? It is why people talk about LLM, SLM and everything is because some people want to really not use the data outside, some people want to use it as short language module, use it only internal, and governance can be far more easier, but you may not have so much productivity. You may have to draw a line between the two and see whether I want to go with this or go with this. Where will I be far more successful? So these are the valuable debates and interesting debates which you need to do in a boardroom. And people are really doing this because, as I said, the collaboration between business and tech is happening, and people being literate on AI is also becoming high. They are trying to come back and say, so if you really look at, and CTO and CISOs are becoming the enablers of the organization, right? But at the same time, they all need to really understand how do we really have AI, which is cyber, which is controlled, right? I think those are very, very important mechanisms. Because of the speed of really implementing AI, you can't really go and do it. And there are organizations which we have read, we don't want to really name anybody, just read in the news articles that who adopted and who really went back and who really picked up smaller ones who have been successful, right? I think these are known. So I think it's cautious journey which we need to really take, right? I go back to typically the old days where we used to say Minesweeper. Minesweeper game, I don't know how much people would have heard of, right? Only you need to be so cautious while you say and then it goes boom. So you need to be so careful while you really do an AI adoption also. And it requires a broad buy-in, and I always feel it is better to get critiqued in the start than doing the whole thing and implementing and getting into trouble. And the critic need not be person oriented. It's again taken as a particular process which is trying to embrace what are the things which could be critical if you don't really take care of this. I think it's an open debate which needs to be done before embracing AI, right? Again, speed is not the problem there. If you really start asking right questions without having the face, you have an avatar and ask the question. Because what will happen is, I know Saraswati knows me, should I ask this? Is this an embracing question? No. Just leave that, ask every question what you want a right answer. If you don't get the right answer, please keep going, drilling down. Then I'm sure we will be able to really implement AI very strongly. But work with right steps, right caution, right governance mechanism, really will ensure AI is the way to really go. And I'm sure we have seen in my own businesses where we are trying to do, we have done huge amount of adoptions of AI, and few of the companies which I'm really doing advisory where we are selling AI solutions to customers. That's how it is.
You've worn multiple hats, right? As CISO.
Yeah. CISO, CTO,
CTO.
Yeah.
Now as AI advisor.
Yeah.
I have seen we are using AI to write code. Now, as a CTO, I love technology. AI is enabling me to do things faster, productive, everything. But as a CISO, also we have seen incidents where security hacks have happened by the same AI code. The data breaches have happened because the code written is not really validated.
True.
Now, from a board or a compliance or governance hat, the third hat that you wear, or the fourth hat, whatever number of hats, what is it that worries you the most in this whole journey?
So, as I said earlier, we need to have a collaboration between the two, CTO and the CISO, right? Both have to really have a buy-in before a product comes out. And the business should not really go and put a pressure on them to really ensure it comes out faster, right? Again, it needs to be defined timeline. That doesn't mean that they can do at their own ease and will, and because the CTO also needs to have his own methodologies and his set of people while they are doing this development. Have they really used the right set of codes? Have they followed the right CI/CD pipelines? Have they really documented it? Have they done the right amount of testing? Has the testing been done because of an emergency push? And who is really doing is also pretty very important, right? Person who has really done, And it's, again, I'm not trying to put a men or a women to really not do it. It is so important that you need to really know, okay, this man has really tested. Is there a way that I want to really get it tested by a third party? When I say third party, it could be an internal organization guy who's open to really get this code tested, code verified, code documented, code checked, or attested. And all this is also available today using technology, right? Do it with all technology, but just put a human eye on whatever you really do, right? So that is where, if you really look at, you don't want to really do it 100% automated. You still want to have 98%, 99%, 97% automated. That small checks really being there, right? So a CTO himself is trying to say, I'm giving my neck, this product will not go out. It's very difficult to find such people. Let me be very upfront with this, but it is a requirement today. If people volunteer and try to really come in, that's the way we need to really do. So it is also important, you need to spot the talent. This is another thing which organizations will miss always, right? There, you have to spot the talent at the right particular point of time and then try to see how do you really take them up. By giving such instances to really make them to do things and trying to see how stress tests are done for that people also. Like you do enough of stress tests using all your tools, right, for an application or any of the things which you do, you need to really do for the people too, right? Again, you need to have your own PROASH and every other thing which is available in an organization, and at the same time, you cannot really get into the times what you need to work and so many things which you need to have. All controls still being strictly followed within the organization. Do a stress test of that particular he or she to see where they can really grow up the ladder. And you know what, I always used to say, and you continue to say today, is the careers are not developed by your bosses. Your career has to be chosen by you. You need to really start saying, this is my things which I can do, this is my plate. If somebody is trying to dump you more and more, you need to know that, hey, my plate is getting full. I don't think I need to take more. It is your own maturity which really comes up and plays there, needs to be told. And you need to plan. If that is the case, then I need to really know what to delegate and what I should do, what I should not do. This, again, is not that as a shortcut to it. It's purely by experience which you need to do, right? I think that is where organization grows, the experience people really come up, right? That is where people like us can still have business as an advisors to smaller companies and go tell them, I think these are the areas where you will be failing. Probably it could do. Please do this. It would be very useful for you. I think this is very essential. Collaboration, to your point, CTO and CISO really being on and trying to ensure the products are really tested, the right tools and technologies and processes are being adopted, and maker-checker mechanisms are done for anything which we really do. And the lesser amount of patches, the more the comfort for the customer, more the easiest for the sales guy to really do, lesser the failures in the market, higher the CSAT. So I think these are parameters, and each of them need to be taught the impact of all the work what they do, which is also essential, because they don't do a job for the sake of the job. They need to know, you don't do this right, the impact is this. I think a lot of people are failing to explain this to the people. If they explain the impact of what they do and why they do and what could be the outcome of it, it's very, very important. If you do this, I think these are something which could really help better.
I think lot of takeaways as CXOs inside the boardroom. If I just ask one question outside of boardroom, because we as a country have come from the LAN cable being plugged in with a BSNL going circles and circles with a telephone wire.
The BSNL lineman being managed to everything being done.
And to your point, internet explosion. Today, we are the second large internet adapters, and we have almost 800, 900 million, almost reaching billion, beating China soon, if not now. That actually, the more we are digital, the more cybersecurity attacks, phishing, wishing, everything. And the most vulnerable are the people who are, everybody, including IT people have got that, but most vulnerable are the senior citizens. Based on your experience, do you want to share anything to them as to what they need to be careful about? This is completely outside the board governance and boardroom.
Excellent. I think it's an interesting subject what you asked finally as such. If you really look at, like I use the word cyber literate for a citizen, right? Citizen being cyber literate, right? With the amount of internet explosion happening, including a villager who's sitting in, right, trying to really use internet for everything and trying to give in Instagram. An auto driver, while he is driving, he'll be on Instagram, but he'll even go and bank. That's the way he is. Now, he's so much focused on to, right? So it is so important that we educate them, where there are multiple ways to really educate them. I think simple ways to really teach them, even if an auto driver is trying to look at Instagram and trying to see, just give a pop-up to him trying to say that don't do this or do this, right? And we have seen, as you exactly said, senior citizens really getting into a problem. One, it could be because of, see, you know what, it's difficult for at that age to really make them change. I call it as super senior citizens are difficult to change. At least senior citizens are changing now, right? Super senior citizens, they would have not even really seen, they would have not even seen this type of technology embracement, which has, enablement, which has really happened over a period of time. A lot of technology is coming in to really enable that also. I can give you a beautiful example, which I was talking to somebody yesterday who was in Singapore. He's trying to bring in, there's a small tool which he's trying to bring in, let's say a super senior citizen. He is living in some senior living home, right? And he is not mobile. He has, because of his being senior citizen, the phone rings either of his knowledge or not being known how to really pick up a video call, right? There are challenges. There is a smaller version, not very expensive, and a sort of iPad, not an iPad, not being saying that, similar to that, which is a device which is paired to your phone, and if you're on your bed, that comes to your bed and you start speaking. It's when you just say something, this video will come on and you will be able to speak. So if you really look at, I think the technology is also really enabling them. And we have seen this a lot being happening, right? One, making them, it's difficult for us to really say, you be aware of it and you start learning it, right? And for them, even forgetfulness is also very easy because they will definitely forget, right? You teach them something today, tomorrow morning they'll forget, right? It's because of that.
Sir, it happens to me.
It happens to us. You're absolutely right. It happens to us only. So it is so important that we keep on trying to say them. And I think one major thing we all at our or even younger or our sons and grandchildren's age, if you really look at, we need to teach them one thing, patience. I think that is just going away. If you have that, you will be able to literally spend time with people. And again, people are trying to make commercials out of it also because people are trying to say if a senior citizen or a super senior citizen is at home, they are able to do everything for them. There are organizations.com companies who have come in and tried to help them to do everything. You just want to spend time with me, I will do. So including the training and teaching of them every day for using the phone, playing on the phone or doing any of those what we need to, I think it's only education, right? Again, education every day for them is also better. For different level of people, educate and then leave at it and keep doing checks at the right point of time. So basically for all this, I always say, which I always do, is prepare. So I think just being more and more prepared for it to happen is so important, right? I think tools and technologies can enable them to really do, but you need to help them to do so. That's how it is. Trying to make them play around with their gadgets, giving them more time to do. Today, for example, my dad, I can proudly say he's 91 years. He knows, he goes to laptop, he goes to YouTube and he knows how to play. And he says these music he needs to play and he does it. The reason is we have told him do this. And sometimes you will be surprised he writes down and keep. We always feel, you know what, don't write your password, don't write all this, which is right. But for there, it's better that they still write down and keep it in a safe place. So that's how we really teach them.
Let's get to know Subbu a little bit.
Okay.
4 questions of rapid fire.
Sure.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Human first or AI first?
Human first.
We talked a lot about AI, so I had to ask you that.
Yes. Human, I'll say human first because AI has come from human. So I will definitely say AI and human. That's how it will be.
Book or movie?
Oh, tough question. I will say movie.
Technology as an enabler or technology is enabler?
Technology is enabler.
Speed or governance?
Both. Tough to really say no.
Thank you, Subbu, so much for being with us.
My pleasure.
In the last 1 hour, we've touched upon technology, governance, process, audits, AI, human, everything. pleasure talking to you because the insights that you provided
Thank you so much.
inside the boardroom, outside the boardroom, both are equally valuable. Pleasure having you with us today.
Thank you so much. Thank you.